everyone. If you saw my short, I discussed 5, was it 4 or 5? I think it was 5 protein myths that people still believe. Tune into this video because I'm going to elaborate on those 5 elements that I discussed in the short. If you've not seen the short, have a look at it and then tune into this video so we dive deeper together. As mentioned, I'm going to break down the 5 protein myths that people still believe. Sometimes I think we're over these myths and then suddenly something comes to light, someone starts talking to me, a client approaches me, I'm having a consultation with a client and they get told that this, and I'm like, okay, we've not broken down the barriers there, so we need to. So the 5 myths that I continuously hear and see that I discussed in the short, I'm going to go over. Animal protein causes cancer. Daily protein needs to be, for healthy adults, is at 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. I think it was 10 days ago that I had a consultation with a client and they were told 0.5 if you're not weight training. Protein is bad for your kidneys. We hear that a lot and I understand where it comes from, but it's a bit of a myth. Cutting back your protein intake is a good way to lose weight. And plant protein and animal protein are the same. So let's dive into those deeper. So between the latest trends and fads and crazy media headlines, it's easier to get confused about our health. I've been there, I've tried following. I've even, I've had friends that are PTs and coaches that have never seen me train or what I eat, that'll be like, oh, you just need to do this. And I go off and I do it and etc. And I'm like, why is my body not changing? What am I doing wrong? Everyone has their point of view. And sometimes it's valid, but it's because it's what's worked for them. But also, to give your point of view, you need to be educated, qualified, and worked with a diverse array of clients, as well as being on a fitness journey yourself. I've mentioned in my videos before, I'm passionate about coaching. I'm passionate about this because I've seen what impact I've had on my clients and people as well in terms of achieving their goals and living their best life. Whether it's fitness, whether it's strength training, whether it's mobility, whether it's recovery, whether it's healing, whether it's yoga, whether it's spiritual growth, whether it's mindset, whatever it is that I do, cognitive therapy that I do, leadership and mentoring training for board directors. And I've been there. I was a slim in my early years, shy but slim. And then I gained weight in my teens until my late teens. Then I decided to diet, which was very hard for me. It's a very vicious cycle, and that's why I'm extremely passionate about those that are overweight trying to get into the fitness journey. I can guarantee you I'll get you there. And whatever your goal in the fitness industry is, I'll get you there because I'm very passionate about it. I know how physical movement and anything around that really, or anything that I coach on this channel, really aids us to live our best life, all encompassing. I digress. So let's go back to it. That made me digress because of all the trends, all the stuff. And because a lot of it's repeated, we're talking about science here. People tend to change it up so that it's kind of like, oh my God, they've stated this. Let's follow them. You follow them and it might be something that's actually not valid. It might work for a little bit of time because you're changing something. You're changing your norm, or you're changing something your body doesn't normally eat. So it's a bit shocked. Other stuff as well. So we know protein is vital for our health and fitness and longevity. But the research supports optimal protein in our diet and many myths surround it that stop us from getting enough protein. Like I said, animal protein causes cancer was one of them. Critics of meat consumption are firmly convinced that they do their best to convince you and false narrative, despite the softness of the data and the lack of the data, when I say softness, of the facts, that such claims, almost all of them which are based on epidemiological associations, low quality evidence, and vegans, who I'm not against, put and voice this out without the solid, hard truth studies. Protein intakes, both animal and plant, do not have high quality evidence that is associated with all cause of cardiovascular disease or cancer-related mortality risk, despite centralized headlines, trends, myths that are going on, whether it's from someone who was your coach, whether it's on social media, whether it's on influencers, whatever it is. There was a point I wanted to add here. Yeah, I wanted to add a point about vegans. I'm not against vegans. I've thought about reducing consumption of animal meat myself, although I would always, I can't say always, but it's not likely that I will turn full vegan. Some of us need to ease on the animal protein because our GIs are sensitive, and I totally understand that. And so where that comes into play, it's not about you, it's about those that are vocalizing that, for example, animal protein causes cancer. That is just going beyond. I just wanted to clarify that, because no hate. Now, going on to the optimal daily protein benchmark for healthy adults being around 1.8, or the shock of my life when I got 0.5 told by a lovely client of mine now, per kilogram of body weight. The recommended daily allowance for protein hasn't changed in 30 years. 0.8 grams of kilogram of weight is not enough. And that's why, and no wonder people say people are over consuming, because that is not enough for your ideal longevity. Most adults should consume between around, I'd say 25. I read a study. It's not actually a study, it's a doctor that really advocates animal protein within the foods, and they were saying up to 50 grams. I'm not going to say a male or a female. They were saying up to 50 grams at key meals to protect your muscle. Now, with that, if you look at what I'm saying, key meals, they've left a gap. And this is where I always come in with my coaching. Key meals means like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So does that mean during your snack time you don't have protein because you're going to have enough during your lunch, your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Or do you lower it and you have a snack in between? My advice would always be the second. Now, depending what you do, your weight training, your height, your weight, your gender, etc., your goals, it would be more. But 25 to 30 grams is great. And you also have a snack bar in between before your next meal. I'm sure we continue to hear this about too much protein is bad for the kidneys. I look into this several times, and according to a Journal of Nutrition meta-analysis and systematic review of more than 24 studies involving hundreds of participants processing large amounts of less than 1.5 grams of kilograms, 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. I was just doing the maths, and I understand that I might confuse if you're listening, of protein does not lead to declining in healthy kidney function. This thought came from the fact that kidney failure and reduced kidney function are generally put on a low protein diet not to overburden the kidneys. So I'll just break that down on how I've tried it. We've had those that say that it's bad for the kidneys, which I used to believe, by the way. I used to believe that I'm having too much, that my digestive system, because I've got IBS, is not able to digest it. It's getting stuck, it's going to my kidneys, it's causing constipation, I don't know what. Now, when kidneys come in place, it's just taken out of proportion. If you have issues with your kidneys, you put on a low protein diet, because then it doesn't have overburden the kidneys and the function of the kidneys that it needs to that it needs to do as a bodily function, but also recover from what you're actually going through health-wise. So you don't want to put extra burden on the kidneys. You lower the protein. That's what your doctor will have you do. Or if you've got kidney transplant surgery, or if you're kidney failure or reduced kidney function, whatever it is to do with your kidneys, it's probably going to be a low protein diet so that it eases the pressure on the kidneys. In other words, pressure on the kidneys to do its function that it should be doing, but also in recovery of whatever it's going through. And it will be temporarily. Once it's back at full strength, you can go back. And so can you see how that's taken out of proportion, that high protein is bad for your kidneys? Cutting back on protein is a good way to lose weight. Now, there are some short-term studies that I came across using energy balanced diets have shown that high protein diets are more satiating than diets lower in protein. And I think we know that. Now, if you have a protein shake or something, you probably feel a bit more saturated than having a nut bar or another snack bar, which is of the same calories. Weight loss requires a calorie deficit regardless of what on earth you do. And dietary protein is critical in maintaining lean muscle mass and your muscle mass, because you're going to calorie deficit, which means your muscles are probably not getting as much calories they need to keep that muscle mass, but not only keep that muscle mass, if you're strength training, to grow your muscle mass. And so protein is critical, that what calories you get in has protein. Protein directly linked to muscle. So by having dietary protein, which is critical to lean muscle mass, ultimately leads to high quality weight loss in the form of fat loss as opposed to just losing your muscle. Number 5, animal protein and plant protein are the same. Plant protein is seen as an incomplete protein. Not all proteins are created equal. Remember, we don't eat for protein. We eat for amino acids that are in protein. Protein quality is different in plants because of the amino acid consumption and protein digestibility. It's possible to get all the essential amino acids in the vegan diet, though you will need to eat more protein and calories to meet your requirements if you're using protein or amino acid supplements. So they're the 5 things broken down, and also where there's shadiness of gaps, filling those in for you. At the end of the day, protein is not the enemy of health. No matter what a multi-billion-dollar company, market campaign, influencer, there's a difference between influencer and a true qualified coach tells you. I hope you found this helpful. Tune in to the next video that's coming up. I'd subscribe to the channel if you're finding these helpful, because every day there's a video coming up, there's content coming up. Let me know if this was helpful for you. Let me know what other content you like, because there's various content on the channel, making sure we live our best lives from the mental, physical and emotional well-being, and balancing this hectic life that we live in. So let me know what content you want to see. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to get back to you. If you want to work with me, my email is zenzoon1@hotmail.com. My website is coachingbyzaina.net, or you can check all the details on the About page. Should you wish to donate to the channel to support my coaching and the education that I'm providing freely to the channel during breaks between clients, then you can do so via PayPal. All the details are in description boxes below. Give this a like, a thumbs up, comment if you have anything to ask me or any takeaways. I'd love for you to subscribe, become part of the community, tell your friends as well, like-minded people, and I'll see you in our next video.